Hi, my name is Carleen Scipio, and welcome to our brand new TV series called From Our Perspective. From Our Perspective looks at the lives and behaviors of millennials, Generation Z, and the changes that are happening in our 21st century and the innovators that are making it happen. We will explore trends, technology, music, fashion, social media, business, science, the arts, faith, and lifestyle, and we will do so through the eyes of various generations. We would look at their interests, how are they changing our 21st century, what is innovation, and what role does innovation play in our lives today, who are our innovators, and what is causing market disruptions, and what does that mean? What are the differences and similarities between Generation Z, millennials, and other generations? And can these generations successfully coexist? We will talk to visionaries, movers and shakers who are doing great things in our local community and around the world. From Our Perspective is not just another talk show. There will be roving reporters from the Caribbean, Europe, and North America. This will be a show of learning, exploring, questioning, listening, and creative ideas. So come join us on Comcast, Verizon, and online.
This is Africa.
This is Africa.
This is Africa. And this is Africa.
This is Africa.
The continent of Africa, made up of 54 countries, is the world's second largest and second most populous continent behind Asia. At about 30 million square kilometers, or 11 million square miles, it covers 6% of the Earth's total surface area and 20% of its land area. In 2016, the continent had an estimated 1.2 billion people, accounting for 16% of the world's human population. In Africa, like anywhere else, similarities of the past still exist. As existed in Russia, Ireland, and so many other countries, wars and famines have occurred. How a country transitions from these destructions is worth examining. The key criteria of strategists are the ability to think creatively, inspire new ideas, identify and understand target audiences, and be open-minded in the approach taken to achieve the end results. In 1750 BC, a devastating famine had spread throughout the land of Israel, Egypt, and the rest of the world. Joseph was an important Egyptian official who was given the responsibility of storing and distributing food. His strategy was one of the most brilliant implemented of all time. He selected highly intelligent administrators to oversee the land. They collected and stored 1/5 of the produce during the 7 years of high yield. They then distributed the stored food in the years of famine. When we think of the logistics involved in successfully accomplishing this, it was unprecedented for its time. They were not only distributing food, but they were also distributing livestock, managing large distributions of funds and labor, allocating territory, as well as establishing infrastructure development. Today's world is no different. In order to successfully implement change, one must be a good strategist. Change can come in many forms, small or large, good or bad. In this episode, we will meet 3 individuals that are creating positive change in the continent of Africa.
My name is Reverend Paul Taiwo, the Executive Director for Africa Needs You, which is a faith-based developmental organization focused primarily on Africa. And Africa is anywhere where there is a lack in humanity. And above all, we are focused on the continent of Africa now for over 12 years. And our goal and our vision is to create awareness for a massive infrastructural development plan in Africa akin to the Marshall Plan in Europe after the Second World War in 1947 to 1952. How do we accomplish this? In over 12 years plus now, since 2006, June 2006, Africa Needs You is based on a three-pronged project plan. The first one is called Africa Praise, and we have had Africa Praise every month since October 2007, where we praise and worship God. We use it as a form of petitioning God to help us heal the land of Africa from all the various distractions. But in doing that, every month we meet from 4 to 6 p.m. the first Saturday of each month, and we do a praise project, which we use to create awareness for the need for us to petition God for the continent of Africa. And the second project is called Africa Ask, which comes from Matthew 7:7. Ask and it shall be given to you. We don't want to know who you are, but in posting your project, we go through a simple approval process, and we are focused on development in rural areas across the continent. We've done over 20 projects across the continent right now, and we depend on people like you watching us to be able to fund some of these projects that we have been doing over the past few years. The third project is the End Goal Vision, where we are creating awareness for a need for massive infrastructural development plan for the continent of Africa. And this is called the MIDA plan, and which is akin to the Marshall Plan in Europe after the Second World War. If you recall, in Europe after the Second World War, there was massive destruction and devastation across the continent of Europe. And the gracious United States of America, which we are part of, which I am part of right now, put in place the Marshall Plan with $20 billion back in 1947 to 1952, 5-year plan that had to be approved by these countries on the continent of Europe with some conditions. These are things that I have known and studied over the years, and I believe that one of these can be put together for the continent of Africa with conditions for the countries across the continent, about 54, 55 countries on this beautiful continent of Africa, to really partake in the beauty of what the Lord has created for them. And we can really eradicate poverty by providing massive infrastructural development plan in key core human development needs areas, where education, health, agriculture, industry, transportation, the legends across the continent of Africa. Africa needs you. At this point, we continue to chase this purpose and this vision. And we believe that by God's grace, we shall truly accomplish our objectives in Jesus' name. The plan for the future is to continue to create a global awareness where the world community will see the need for a massive infrastructural development plan on the continent of Africa. Africa's population is a little bit over 1 billion right now, and the key thing is people under the 30 years age bracket are more than 500 million of these billion people. And we need to give them the opportunity for the next generation to be able to gainfully participate and have an input in the progress of the global community. I need you, I need the world to contribute to this and to help us in implementing and putting a plan together that will be incredible blessing to the up-and-coming millennial generation on the continent of Africa.
My name is Toby Arquette, and I am of that generation, the millennial generation. I believe that we need to be empowered. We need education, and we need to step outside of our comfort zone to see a change, not only in the continent of Africa, but a change that stems into the entire world. If I had power and had the ability to change or make decisions in Africa, I would empower young people who are in my demographic to step outside of their comfort zone and to begin to use the tools that they have received, their education, to use the giftings that they have received to be able to make a difference in the continent of Africa and in our world at large. In every place in the world, there are millennials that have ideas, that have passion, that have the ability to make a difference in our world. And if I had the power in a country in Africa, I would look to find these young people, millennials, who are going to be leading our nations and our countries in the future. I would pull resources and opportunities and from the history of other nations where young people have been able to make a difference when empowered and strengthened and given the tools to make a difference. Education is what we need. We need the opportunities to be in roles of authority, to be trained and to be put in positions where we can make a difference, where we can give back and look to the places where we have come from and to lift them up through our innovation, through our ideas, through technology. Look at the advancements all over the world. Africa needs our help. Africa needs to empower the young people to make a difference. Africa needs you and I.
We just want to give glory to God for what He has been able to give us to do with the vision for Africa Needs You. And we have to also prepare the next generation. But more than anything is for you to believe that with God, all things are possible. People always ask me, He said, if you believe, greater things shall you do more than I. And also seek into Africa. So if you're going to donate to a project or even to a child or even to benefiting a certain part of Africa. So are you growing? And a lot of you are incredibly blessed now. So please reconnect with this continent of Africa. It's a beautiful place. And I really want to see you guys do great and mighty works for the glory of God.
Reverend Paul, thank you so much for your contributions to Africa Needs You. I'm inspired and I will make a change.
Amen.
The Republic of Liberia on the West African coast, bordered by Sierra Leone on its west, Guinea to its north, and Ivory Coast to its east, a population of approximately 4 million, it covers 43,000 square miles, and its official language is English. The country's capital and largest city is Monrovia. Liberia has been faced with 14 years of civil war, which has caused major destruction to the country's infrastructure and economy, as well as significant loss of lives. The Liberian educational system has been impacted by civil unrest and the Ebola outbreak, which led to closure of schools in 2015. The country is now rebuilding and is showing signs of improvement and growth. Its government has focused on educating its youth through new school reforms. In this episode, we'll meet a woman who is forwarding the charge of educating Liberia's youth, Miss Julie Taitt, philanthropist and author of Living in the Real World.
I'd like to share with you the new book that I just published called Living in the Real World. Now, Living in the Real World is a success manual, and it creates an opportunity for everyone to find their individual destiny, to find out how to fulfill your purposes for being on the earth. It is an opportunity for everyone to get answers to life's questions globally. And I'm very happy to have the ability to share this book with people all over the world. And speaking of all over the world, I'm also happy to share with you some of the work I'm doing right now in Africa, and specifically the work that we're doing in Monrovia, Liberia. Now, the work that we're doing in Liberia involves a school, the name of which is the Julie E. Taitt Evangelical Lutheran School, which you'll hear me refer to as JET as we go through this conversation. JET is currently located in Yamatown, Findel, Liberia, which is about 7 or so miles northwest of the capital, Monrovia. Well, I think everyone around the world would agree that poverty is a significant limiter and unfortunately, Liberia has a poverty issue there, and that poverty is really a barrier to people being able to be all that they can be. So one of the ways to escape or to overcome poverty is through education, to fulfill their God-given potential, to utilize the God-given gifts and talents that they have so that they can then turn around and sow those back into the development of their own country. There are so many young people who found a way to work around, who found a way to succeed and to excel despite the economic barriers that they're facing. So we have used technology in the school to create innovation. For example, we have created a computer lab. Now we're talking about a computer lab in a place where there's no city electricity, there's no running water, there are no toilets available, there are no paved roads. So therefore, we have found a way to get generated electricity through a generator, and we have six computers are there, and we've created a lab. Now, how is this so innovative? Well, not only is it going to benefit the students of the school that are there at the JET school, because of course, giving them access to the internet and to the computer will open up the entire world to them, which of course is invaluable. But we also realize there is a state-owned university about a 15-minute walk from our current campus. And that university, the University of Liberia, has roughly a 20,000 student population. And many of those college students also do not have access to the internet. So it is our intent to open up our computer lab as an opportunity to share those gifts with the university students to assist their learning. As well, it can become a source of revenue and income for the JET school as we charge minimal fees for those college students to come and use our computer lab. What surprised me the most is the absolute zeal that the young people and the adults have for education. Many of the parents make extreme sacrifices for their children to attend school because unfortunately many of the parents were not afforded an opportunity to attend school. And so even though the registration fee is $5 and it covers the cost of the uniform as well, there are many parents for whom that is still a financial barrier. But parents have worked 2, 3, multiple jobs, working late into the night because it is so important to them to have education for their children, because they too realize that that will provide an open door for their children to rise above and to continue to go forward in a global world and to be competitive in a global world. So I would like to partner with the Liberia public school system as well as other private school institutions. And of course, we won't forget the work that the U.S. government is doing there with regard to education, as well as other localities that are focusing on education, other countries, England and other countries that are focusing on education. And so I see great opportunities for partnerships. We're not there yet, but I'm hopeful, and we are endeavoring to create those kind of collaborations so that once again, the students at JET ELS can be advantaged in every way and can benefit from multiple sources of knowledge. One of the significant challenges with regard to the school in Liberia is actually America. Now, I know some people may wonder, how can that be so? Well, Liberia was actually developed by slaves who fled the American oppressive slavery system to seek freedom, and the freedom that they received was in the country of Liberia. So Liberia was started by Americans. There's also a great, I would say, reliance on America and a belief that America is going to come and rescue Liberia, that America is still very interested and focused on the success of Liberia. And so therefore, the people do not see the need for self-reliance or independence as much as maybe some other groups do, because again, of their connection to America. So I think that's a challenge in the mindset, getting the people to become more self-reliant, because there's an awesome pool of talent there. There are many, many gifted people, but they don't really see the value and the benefit of who they are and what they have to offer, because they're always looking somewhere else for support. What's been rewarding is seeing the fact that the school, the JET school, has doubled its enrollment every year it's been in place. Now this coming fall of 2018 will be the 4th school year, and we've gone from 30 students in our first year to well over 150 students now. So we have seen the enrollment just mushroom. And in fact, the school was originally slated to be kindergarten through grade 6, but because of the increase in the enrollment, we now have so many 6th graders who have nowhere to go, and we don't want to leave them. So therefore, we've added grade 7 this year. So starting in the fall of 2018, we will go from K through 7. And so that is awesome to see the response from the community and the zeal that the young people have for learning. One of the things that I've learned is that people are more similar than they are different, no matter where you are in the world, and that people all want the same things. People all want health. People all want good family relationships. People all want their basic needs to be met, food, clothes, and shelter. So when I wrote the book, I was focusing on helping people to find their and fulfill their destiny. But what I realized is that everybody has a very similar destiny because we all want the same things, and that God's put gifts and talents in each of us. So success means different things for each of us, but we all want it. And we all have our own version of success, but we all want it. So what I think I've done differently is I've focused on the individual and helping them to utilize this book as a tool to find their own explanation of success. And I've helped people to find a guide and to use the study questions that I put at the end of each chapter to utilize those questions as a point of self-discovery and transparency. And it's very interesting because if you think about the millennial generation, for example, they are very big on transparency. They don't like the fakey, phony world of the baby boomers. They want transparency. They want to see what's real. But one of the things my book does is it helps you explore your own transparency. And in actuality, you can ask others to be transparent if you haven't taken that journey yourself to find out who you really are. So I think what I've done differently is help people realize that this book is not just a message to you, it's a message for you, a message about you. Well, culture, of course, is significant in every community all around the world. So everyone has their own culture, and culture creates your paradigm. And one of the things that I mentioned previously in my conversation was the role that poverty plays and the connection with the United States. Now, I believe that the people have suffered tremendously in Liberia. And by that I mean they had a very long civil war, which caused, of course, political unrest. It caused economic unrest. It caused health unrest. But that civil war period ended, and then they did have stable elections. And just recently, last year, they had a safe transition of power, or a peaceful transition of power. So I believe their culture is shifting out of that civil war period where there was tremendous strife and pain experienced by many people into a new paradigm where there is a peaceful land. And as a result of that, I think their culture is beginning to adjust to peace. But I also realize that poverty is still a very big issue in Liberia. And poverty, as I said before, can be very impacting. One of the statistics that I read that the United Nations had issued, I guess a year or so ago, was that 56% of the people in Liberia are public toileters, which means there's not sufficient toilet access in the home, in the community, in the neighborhoods, etc. And so that has a tremendous impact on being able to meet your daily needs, which you have to do first before you can move into education as a secondary need. So I think culture, beginning to see a peace culture there in Liberia, beginning to move past the poverty that has been so gripping and so crushing, will be a significant cultural change for them, and help project them into a global community, help them see themselves as part of the global community, and even more important than that, as a significant and important contributor to their own culture, as well as having a global impact. Well, with regard to the work at JET ELS School in Monrovia, we just actually purchased land to build a high school and continue the educational opportunities for the children there. The new land is about maybe 5 miles or less from the current location. So I see the school expanding, and we also intend to build an entire complex on that land, which will include not just a school from grades K through 12, but will also include a medical facility so that health services can be available to the citizens in that community. In addition to that, we're also building a community center so that we can offer vocational training to adults, as well as opportunities for adults to learn computer skills, catering skills, all kind of job opportunity training, so that adults in that community can be enhanced. And then we also want to rebuild the church, the Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church, so that the community will have a bigger, broader place for worship and a hospitality house to house people, because we believe we're going to have visitors from all around the world coming to impart into us. So that's what I see happening in the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now, that we will have an entire complex, and that complex will serve the many varied needs of the community. With regard to the book, I see the book Living in the Real World eventually becoming workshops and seminars that can be held in convention centers, churches. I also see it becoming a curriculum for various maybe study groups or Bible study groups or any other groups that meet to share and exchange and encourage each other. So I see the book becoming a curriculum, and I also see the book turning into workshops and seminars and retreats.